All right, another year, another trip to the Stanley Cup playoffs without the San Jose Sharks getting that ultimate goal. And after watching St. Louis drop a 2-0 lead to Boston last night in Game 1, seeing how complete of a team this Boston Bruins team is, I think the only silver lining is that the Sharks, probably wouldn't have won despite being there. And the story of this playoffs was the injuries that at first were, was only affecting Erik Karlsson, and how he was not at full 100%, but still was able to make the offensive impact that he did, only to really be a defensive liability, especially in that St. Louis series. And the high risk, high reward move that Dougie Wilson made last September to bring in Karlsson with one, as a pending UFA. And not really, he gave up Josh Norris, he gave up Chris Tierney, he gave up some guys that I liked and had high potential, but obviously you're getting Erik Karlsson, and what I thought was going to be a long-term move back in September, which right now it looks like it's not going to be, and this is going to be a one-year rental that ended in a Western Conference Final loss. So with that as precursor, let's move on to what this team, if I was sitting in Dougie Wilson's chair this offseason, what my to-do list would be. And first of all, the two Swedish rentals we brought in, Erik Karlsson and Gustav Nyquist, I think you got to let go. If you re-sign both of them, you give up another first-round pick in 2021 to Ottawa if you re-sign Karlsson. And with Nyquist, I believe it becomes a second-round pick if he re-signs with the Sharks. So we're going to let go of Karlsson. We're going to let go of Nyquist. And that leaves us with 5 priority free agents that we got to re-sign with just under $25 million in cap space. The first priority re-signing we got is Timo Meier. I got my lucky little whiteboard next to me, so I'm going to move over here. Timo Meier, 22-year-old winger, 9th overall pick in 2015, right before Mikko Rantanen, but he's finally starting to justify that. He had a 66-point season this year in 78 games, 30 goals, 36 assists. And he is the number one prospect. I mean, not even, he's graduated now, but he's the Sharks', best shot at a future superstar right now. And so the number one move that has to be made is re-signing Timo. And if we can get him on a long-term deal for under $7 million, I think that would be a win. But if we have to lock him up for $7 million per year, again, I don't think that is too bad at all. He's better than Evander Kane. Kaner's making $7 million with 6 years left on it right now. Does not look like it's going to be a very good contract. But I also have recency bias. Despite him having a 30-goal season, Kane was the Sharks' worst player in the playoffs, I think. Just the effort wasn't there. He seemed to be making bonehead decisions, and that's all fine if you're scoring goals. But he wasn't scoring goals. I believe he only finished with 3 goals in the playoffs, which just is not going to cut it. And I think game 2 or 3 against Colorado was the last time he scored a goal. That just is not going to cut it if you're making $7 million a year. That being said, though, he did have a good enough regular season, netting 30 goals, which you can't really ask more from a $7 million a year player. Anyway, so Timo's the big guy you got to re-sign. And then you got Pavelski and Thornton, the two old guys. Now, if Jumbo comes back, it's only going to be for the Sharks, and if he's kind of wrestling with his future right now, we'd love to see him take a pay cut. He made $5 million last year. He signed the past 2 summers, he signed 1-year deals, and I expect him to do the same thing. If he'll come on for $3 million, I think that'd be awesome. If you can, save $2 million on Jumbo, I think that'd be great. And you're going to have to use that savage on Pavelski probably, who is coming off a $6 million cap hit, and if he's probably going to make more than that. And I wouldn't mind giving Pavelski a 1 or 2 year deal at around $7 million a year. So right now, quick math. Let's say Timo goes for 7. Let's say Pavelski goes for 7. Let's say Thornton goes for 3. That's $17 million right there. So you got $8 million left to lock up the two young guns that I want to see locked up, and that's Kevin Labanc and Dylan Gambrell. So LeBanc, he had 56 points this year and played all 82 games. So he's going to be in for a raise for coming off that entry-level contract. How much of a raise, though? I think if you can get him for a 5-year deal at around $4 million per, 4.1 per, I think that would be great. I think that would be great, and it would give you ample room to re-sign another guy, Dylan Gambrell, who had 45 points in 51 games at the AHL level, but played in that last game against St. Louis and scored the only goal. I like this kid a lot. I think he has a definitely top 9 upside, and is just going to be a heady two-way player who has offensive upside. So if you can re-sign, so right now with my quick math, we have $8 million remaining. If you can give 4 of that to LeBanc, give LeBanc a 5-year deal for around $20 million a year, give him $4 million per, and then you can re-sign Gambrell and Joachim Ryan, who had a nice year as well. So you split that up between Ryan and Gambrell. There's not too much left, and this team we kind of know what this team's going to look like going in. If they were able to use that available cap on a guy like Michael Furland, that's a UFA guy that I would love, or Wayne Simmons. If you can get him for a nice deal and not hemorrhage the future, which Doug Wilson has been doing in the Karlsson deal and Kane deal last year, which results in the Sharks not having a first-round pick this year. There's a lot of the Sharks need. This is the year that they need to start moving into. I don't want to say a rebuild, but just not hemorrhaging and sacrificing the future for a run at the Cup this year. This year was their year to do that. So that needs to be off the table from now on. And so, yeah, I think if you can get Meyer, Pavelski, LeBanc, Thornton, Gambrell, and Joachim Ryan all re-signed, that's 6 players re-signed, you got $25 million. If you got enough money left over to take a stab at a free agent like Michael Furland or Wayne Simmons, great. If not, so be it. But that's definitely something they lack, is two-way forwards who play a physical game and have a little bit of offensive upside. So that's why I look at a guy like Furland, who's 27 years old, played 71 games and had 40 points in 71 games for the Canes. I just really like his game. I really like his agitating game. He's a little Tom Wilson-esque. And then Simmons obviously isn't the player that he once was, but still I think would fit in great with the Sharks in a veteran room. And if you can get him on a 2-year deal, I don't want to be sacrificed. I don't want to give Wayne Simmons a 5-year deal at 31 years old. So and as we're going to see, I'm comfortable with the prospect depth that they have, despite not having ample resources. I think this team has a nice little prospect room. So including Gambrell moving up, 2 guys that I expect to move up from the prospect ranks this year and get a shot with the big club is Jonathan Dahlin, Jonathan Dahlin, my fault, my apologies, who was a second-round pick back in 2016, and then Jeremy Waugh, who was a second-round pick back in 2015. Dahlin is a very great hands, highly offensive upside guy who they acquired from Vancouver last year. And I think Dahlin's a guy who could really bloom if Thornton comes back on that third line with Sorensen on one wing and then Dahlin on the other. And I think he could, score 20 goals on Jumbo's wing, just like Sorensen did this year. And then with Jeremy Waugh, who has taken some time to develop, but was a very, very highly touted defenseman in that 2015 draft, he's going to get his shot this year. And I think he would be a nice little third-pair guy next to Joachim Ryan if they can re-sign him. So right now, my rough 2019-2020 Sharks lineup goes like this. First line, Timo, Couture, Pavelski. Second line, Kaner, Hurdle, LeBanc. Third line, Sorensen, Thornton, Dahlin. Fourth line, Melker Karlsson, Dylan Gambrell. And if you can bring in a guy like Furland or Simmons to play on that fourth line, that'd be great. But if not, you got Barclay Goodrow, who's a high-energy guy who can fill a nice little role in the bottom 6. And then on defense, Vlasic, Burns, Braun, Dillon, and Joachim Ryan, Jeremy Waugh. So that's my rough outlook for this offseason for the San Jose Sharks. Thanks for tuning in.